have you joining me again on another Let's Talk with the Doc. I'm excited to be here as always. It's almost like a scratch record. I'm always excited to be here because I'm always blessed to have some wonderful people joining me on Let's Talk with the Doc. Everybody has a story, and everybody's story is unique and inspiring. And so I have with me this evening Bishop Dr. Roderick George Sr. joining me live from Jamaica, and I can't wait to talk to him to hear what his story is. And so will you, my friends. So hang in there. When I come back, I will be talking to the bishop live on Let's Talk.
ORB Ministry presents Let's Talk with the Doc. Grace Without Borders podcast. A thought for you. Ask Pastor. And a whole lot more. You never know what's next or who will join the conversation.
All right. So, Bishop, welcome to Let's Talk with the Doc. I'm excited to have you joining me tonight. Thank you for taking the time out of what I've come to know as a man who is always busy, 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 busy. Thank you for joining me, Bishop.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Dr. Beckford. Thank you so much. I really appreciate coming on to share my story with the
Your
world.
story, and I don't know what your story is, but I can't wait to hear it. And I'm excited. As I said, everyone has a story, and everybody's story is unique. And now, just getting to find out what people's stories are is by itself inspiring, motivating, encouraging. And you could name all the adjectives to describe it. And so, thank you for taking the time to be here. And how are things in Jamaica? As joining me live from Jamaica. How are things in Jamaica as we speak?
So far, in Jamaica, well, we're having rain today, and there's a depression across, so we're having rain, and that's one. It's very
Let, let
hot
me let,
too.
me- let, let me do- let me just say one thing in writing following that. I covet good things. Right now, rain is like good things. We're coveting good things up in New York.
You, you might get some soon.
I pray we do. All right.
Yes.
So yeah. So Bishop, again, thank you for joining me. And I normally like to get people's story to find out the beginning of the days. And one of the reason is, as I said, the only way you can get to the roof of a building is by building from the foundation. You can't. The roof is the last thing you put on. You gotta build it up on the structure. You start on the foundation, and sometimes the foundation is so complicated and so difficult, but then all these wonderful buildings come from hard work in the foundation. And so then I begin by finding out where were you born, because and the reason why one of the things that it's nice to talk to people about their stories is that people see you in ministry, they see you on the platform, they see you with your attache, they see you driving in your suit, in your robe, marriage officer, and all these wonderful things. And sometimes people don't equate us with normal human beings. They just think that,
Understand?
oh, yeah, they just think that, oh my God, he's just, he or she's just this wonderful person who is just always dressed and always on the platform. And sometimes they cannot associate you with struggles, real challenges coming from the ground up. And so people are inspired by our story, and that's one of the reasons why I like to talk about people's stories. So tell me, where were you born, Bishop? Where were you born? Where were
I
you
am from
born?
the parish of Saint Mary,
Oh, you
born
were
in
probably
Saint
said
Mary.
Mary, actually.
Yes, Saint Mary, Gail Saint Mary.
Gail St. Mary. Okay, okay.
Yes.
I know St. Mary. I've gone to all of the parishes in Jamaica, and I've gone to St. Mary too. Um, okay, so what was it like for you when you growing up? What's your family dynamic? Do you have siblings? Where do you fall in the company if you do?
Okay, but before I reach the siblings, Bishop, I need to tell you about my birth.
Your birth. Okay, all right,
Yes,
okay,
yes. I think I need to start there with you,
all
sir.
right. Let's start there because we want to hear your story.
Yeah, my mother got pregnant at the age of 13.
Oh wow.
Yes, and she gave birth at the age of 14.
Oh wow.
Now, at the time when she was time to deliver, she had epilepsy or fits.
Oh really? Oh wow.
Yes, and they had to rush her to the Port Maria Hospital because it was a matter of, they said it was one of those challenging pregnancy, her age, so it
Mm-hmm.
was very difficult. And from the operation, she had a C-section, and
Mm-hmm.
from that I came out bearing scars. If
Oh
you look in
wow.
my forehead,
Hold a
you will see.
hold a second. Hold a second.
Yes,
As a result of the C-section,
yes, that,
from they have to rush your mom to the hospital at age
yes,
14 to bring a baby into the world. As a result of the C-section, you bear scars from that.
y- yes, physical scars.
Physical scars. Wow. So go
Yes,
ahead and tell me more about that. That's interesting already.
if you look at my forehead, you will see a sink.
Mm-hmm.
I can't turn around because my room is kind of
I see
small,
it. I see it. I
but
see it.
at the back of my head, there's also a cut.
Oh
Now,
wow.
my mother told me is that she was the one who noticed the cut and not the doctors nor the nurse.
What?
Yes. So that was the start
Oh
of
my
my
goodness.
journey into the world.
See, already, I tell you, people's stories are so unique. Who would have thought? Who would have thought of a story like that? I read a lot of great stories, and the more I talk to people, the more fascinating their stories become. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about that. How did that unfold? How your mother dealt with that? Um, what's the
Well,
conversation epilepsy? Because we know what epilepsy do to people, throw them
yes,
down. Pregnancy already in
yes.
itself is a challenge, and to have that along with that is a double whammy.
Double mom. I tend not to go much into that story, Bishop, to
Okay.
question her a whole lot because the whole bringing up, but she relate that story to me per se, and I
Hmm.
think it was the whole matter of her getting pregnant was, in the country, the supervision not
Hmm.
there, the ups and downs, and in
Um,
in St. Mary, you had more of the bush and the
mhm.
fields. Let me say the
Yep, yep,
field,
yep,
the
yep, yep,
fields and
yep.
so on. So person could easily go and be intimate with each other and so on. But as I had to my story, Bishop, and I hope the world is ready to hear all of my story. As I had to my story, I now come from the hospital, and I am now at home, and this is what my parents told me.
Hmm.
Uh, there was an interference as a baby, a demonic interference.
Oh Lord have mercy.
Yes, demonic interference, where they thought I was going to die.
Wow.
Yes, that was the level of interference. All right. If I tell, my parents were not Christians.
Right.
Okay, and it's not that they,
I was gonna come to that
yeah,
at some point.
they were not Christians. That my mother lived with her grandfather, and my father at the time was about 17. He lived with his parents, so they were not living under the same roof. per se.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so when that demonic interference took place, it is not like they took me to church
Mm-hmm.
for them to pray for me and cast out the demons and so on.
Mm-hmm.
I did not go into much other details with her, but uh, my grandfather, and this is it, my grandfather, who is now deceased, and I need to say something about him to the end of the program, who is now deceased. He told me, he said to me, Roderick, I save you. My grandfather put some things around the house.
Mm-hmm.
He lighted and he started to chant.
Wow.
And when he finished chanting, that's the story they told me, that
Mm-hmm.
evil spirit came off me. Now, my grandfather, who wasn't a Christian then, it's not that the evil spirit leave. Now that we know the whole matter of spiritual warfare, it's
Mm-hmm.
not that the evil spirit left, it's that I was sold out as a baby to the devil. Because in the
Yeah.
satanic kingdom, there is no division in the satanic kingdom. Okay, and the scripture points to that. So there was that souling out to the devil as a baby. Okay, and then my journey, as I take my journey tonight with you, sir, my journey would show to you that uh, it was really a selling out to the devil until the deliverance come. But we'll get there then.
So,
you know,
so, so, tell me, how would one say the origination of that? How would one say that originates? You know, the selling out of how did that transpire? What's the origin of that?
I think it's the mere fact of the practice that was done. It is
Okay.
not that it was I going to church and they praying for me. What was basically done
Mm-hmm.
was witchcraft, and
Mm-hmm.
in Jamaica we might say it's obia. All
Mm-hmm.
right, so that was done. Now, if it's a demonic interference. Now, if you light something and chant, and you are not a Christian, who is going to help? Who is going to
Okay.
help? And then if you are chanting with the thing lit and burning, then who are you chanting to? And who are you lighting this thing to? Because it comes down now in the whole matter of superstition and going into another world that don't have to do it, that don't have anything to do with God per se. So it was now an open door for the enemy to attack me. And this is what a lot of persons don't understand, is that once we open a door, the enemy comes in. And what the
Mm-hmm.
enemy does is that a demon now is assigned to police that individual as he or she grows. So there's that policing that took place. Uh, I also, my grandfather was not an opium man. It was not where he had a flag and people come to him per se. All right. But he
Mm-hmm.
did things that was not Christian, was not
Mm-hmm.
have nothing to do with the scriptures
So,
per
so he
se.
kind of open up himself and open up the home, make the home vulnerable to the forces.
Yes, yes, yes. So there was that opening up. I I recall just three other things with my grandfather. I recall my grandfather had a vial, Bishop. It was a small vial like this, and it had an English cork on it, and they were all different fragrance in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And persons on the street would know the difference between a drugstore and a pharmacy. All
Right.
different fragrance was in it. It was so small, he kept it in his wallet.
Wow.
All right. When we were going to bed in the night, he took it up because, in the country, the bathroom outside, the kitchen
Mm-hmm.
outside. So it's one
Mm-hmm.
room. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And so the vial was kept on the table. As far as I am concerned, no evil spirit could come in the house because the
Mm-hmm.
vial was there. I remember one particular night we went, because my grandfather loved to go to the road. We went to the road one night, and it's not at the house. You know, country, the road, the house is not on near the road. It's way up
Right. Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
track. You
Yeah.
have to go through
Yeah.
some track and go up. And I remember he said to me, I left something up the house, and he had a flashlight, and he had to take out his vial and give it to me. And I ran up to the house and I ran back down because I was so scared because the place dark on both sides is just banana trees and so on. All right, so I live with him. I saw my grandfather dance and broken bottles twice, and only
Wow.
once he got a scrape. Only once.
Wow.
He put a glass of water on his head, not a small glass, a glass of water on his forehead. He lay flat on the stage and was moving up and down, and the glass of water could not fall off. And he was not holding it with his hands,
Wow.
not holding it with
So
his
you,
hands.
so you, so your grandfather, we know we know about some of those older men who were indulging some of the things that were happening, the superstition and the chanting, as you say. Uh, you know, but that's an interesting story. And at that point, before we even get to how old were you when you were recognizing those things?
Okay, I recognize the whole matter of what happened to me in the 90s. It was in the 90s that I recognized that all of this was a curse,
Mm,
okay? A curse that was on my life per se. And before I go bishop to the curse, I also need to let you know that at the age of 7, I came to live with my mother uh, in Spanish Town with my stepfather. We lived in a tenement yard. Because when I say solo to the devil, we lived in a tenement yard. And in that tenement yard, Bishop, we all went to a revivalist church.
mm,
Revivalist church. All right. And we went to that revivalist church for years. Okay. Just to, for those who are watching tonight, all right, just to add this. And I was, when I went to the revivalist church, I was I was going to primary school and then on to high school. So it was maybe over 10 or so years
hmm
being there. I became a member of the Church of God of Prophecy in 1984 when I left high school as a teenager. All right.
hmm
So so I was at that revivalist church for over 10 years. Now, just to say something, revivalism is not Christianity.
Right.
A quick study of revivalism will tell you that when the slaves came to Jamaica, that the witches and the warlocks came, and the Europeans, missionaries came, taught the slaves Christianity. And what the slaves did was to mix their Christianity with devil worship. So
hmm
revivalism is basically a mixture of Christianity and
hmm
devil worship.
hmm
All right.
hmm
And
hmm
you basically have two orders. I hope this is not too much for your audience tonight. You have two orders. You have the 60 order or the 61 order, or the Zionists and the Pocomanians. The Zionists per se are what we refer to as the faith healers, and the Pocomanians are the obia workers. All right.
hmm
The one that
hmm
I went to was a Zionist. All right. Was very popular in Spanish Town. The church was very popular, and the pastor was very popular too. All right. And we went to that particular church. We had a basin of water under the table. I don't know what that means up to now. We had a dry coconut beside it. Uh, we did jump in bands. You know, when you have one person in the middle and a circle
Right, right,
around,
right, right, right.
and we did jump in bands and so on. Okay, and we did several trips because we visit other churches, and we did also several trips to St. Thomas, and not only St. Thomas alone, but to other revivalist church and so on. All right, so I was a part of that church for years, and some of the things that I'm looking back now that they used to do, I asked myself, was I really a part of that? You know, The night when we got baptized, it was all night. It was an all night setup,
Hmm.
and
They
they
were
gave us a
good at
cross.
they were good at all night stuff. They were good at
Yes,
all
they
night stuff.
gave us a cross, Bishop, and we had to hold it up with our hands, and we did the song, "Must Jesus bear the cross, and all the world go free? There's a cross for me, and there's a cross for you."
Yep,
And we
yep.
held up the cross until I feel the pain in my hand,
Wow,
and that too was basically us opening up our lives for attack. All right,
wow.
and we did that. I remember clearly that was done. And so there were other. Well, as I said, we jump in bands. Uh, the ritual with the water, the coconut. When we have in our Good Friday fasting, it is coconut water and crackers, and the table is well spread
Wow.
with
I
coconut crackers.
from a distance, I note some of those. I have been nearby to some of those things and see the operation. Never been inside or been involved, but some of what you're saying, I could see those things in the distance. This is fascinating. One of these days, we need to have another conversation on the operational aspect of that and your personal experience and the discovery in those things, because a lot of people would do well to be educated on the realism of those things, um, the approach to them, the commitment to it, what people glean from it, etc., etc. And how do you differentiate from them? Because people associate those things with spirituality, and really they're not spirituality. They're, as you said, they're a mix. They're a mix, they're a combination of a couple of things.
Yes. And so, as I said, soloed as a child, and this was what was happening
Mm,
in my life. You leave in St. Mary, I leaving from under my grandfather roof.
hmm.
Okay, and now I'm now with my parents. And now I'm now going to a revivalist church of all the churches.
Of
I'm
all
not
the
in.
churches, and
Yes,
you're like 7 years old. You said at that time when
I
you
was 7 when I came to live with my mother. All
so
right,
then you're almost at your most vulnerable stage where everything now shapes you. uh, that is like a guiding force to what your life has become. But thank God for refuge later on.
yes, and so what happened is that after many years in that particular church, I also tell you this. I need to tell you this one too, Bishop. In that revivalist church, is that when two persons were getting married, they would live together, and they would put them at the back bench because, according to the pastor, you can't marry puss in a.
Bad news, yeah. Hmm.
Yes, so they would stay at the back bench. And for those who are watching and wondering where you say puss in bag, what is he talking about? It's talking about they have to be intimate
Right,
sexually. Yes, sexual sex has to
right.
take place before they get. So they would live together under the same roof, but they could take no part in the
Mm.
church. So when they get married, they were basically accepted back in the church. But and
That's
I'm like,
interesting.
wow,
That's
I
interesting.
was really a
And,
part of this. I was
and I
really a
never
part
heard
of.
that one. I never heard that
Yes.
one.
So
Wow.
that was what was happening in that church per se. So after a number of years in that church, what happened is that my mother went on a search. She basically went on a search, and she was tired of the one man. And this is, I'm not against persons who have their own church. Okay, I'm not against persons who may start their own church and so on. I
Hmm.
have good
Hmm.
friends who have started their own church. Okay, and I need to say that. But she wanted to go to a church that was not controlled by a one man.
Hmm.
And because her experience is who
Hmm.
disciplined that one man,
Who are you
who,
answerable to?
who yeah, who is he answerable to? Who what happens if he fall out of line and he
Hmm.
messed up? What happened? So she was on a search, and that search led us to 41 Olaba Road in
Oh,
1984. Led us to that local
okay,
church.
okay,
So
okay.
we went to the church in 1984, and this was it for us. My mother took us there. I have a sister and I have a brother. Okay,
Okay.
and I did have
Because
a
my
stepbrother.
wife was asking if your mother had more children. Okay, so
Yes,
now her
yes,
question is
and
answered.
I also need to say that my two brothers. I refer to my stepbrother as my brother. My two brothers were murdered.
Oh, I'm so sorry to
Yes,
hear
the
that.
two of them were murdered. One of them was killed. Well, both of was killed by his friends. What they
Oh
did
wow.
was that they took a knife and they pushed it under his armpit and just wring it out. They just killed him like an
What?
animal.
What?
Yes,
What age
yes.
was that?
We were in about, he was about in his 20s. That is
Oh
over
my
some 30
goodness.
odd years. Yes, and that happened to my brother. And then about a year or two, my other brother, biological brother, he was murdered. He was shot. So my,
So you have
yes,
two brothers, and both were murdered.
both murdered.
And you were in your twenties. You were in your twenties back
No, no,
then.
no. When my first brother who was murdered, I was in my 20s.
Okay. Okay.
My other brother, he was murdered about 2 years now.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yes,
So that means he's an adult, senior
he's an
person.
yes senior person. Yes,
So I'm trying to how did you manage that in your twenties? Number one, especially the barbaric way of how they kill your brother. How did you move on, or how did you handle that? Or,
it
you know what?
it was very difficult because while I was at home when I got the news that he was they had stabbed him and so on, and they had to put him in the trunk of a car and rushed him to the Spanish Town Hospital. And immediately I went to the hospital, went there, and I was praying that all would be well. But when I went to the hospital, they said he died. And Bishop, in Jamaican terms, my ball, my
I
ball.
couldn't imagine. I
You know,
couldn't
it
imagine.
it was an experience for us as a family. You know, there were challenges, yes, with him, but it's an experience for us because this was somebody who was settling down. He
Mm-hmm.
was doing, the time when we had the figurines, those figurines
Mm-hmm.
that they used to
Mm-hmm.
make,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
the rooster and so on. So he was
Yep.
settling
Yep.
down
Yep.
and trying to earn a living per se. And this was what happened. So it was very challenging for us as a family and
So
very
maybe it was
hurtful.
some carryover, malicious
It
hate,
was some carry
vengeance.
yeah, it was some
Yeah.
carryover. And then the guys who killed him were guys who we played table tennis, we cook together because there was this at this house scheme we had this little clubhouse that we used to go and hang out and run boat, as we
Mm-hmm.
say in
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
run
Yep.
boat.
Yep. Yep.
We play football, we play cricket, we play table tennis. We just hang out and have fun and so on. So it was his own friends that we cooked together, shared together, that end up really killing him. That I said that is over some 30 odd years ago
Right.
now, that end up murdering him. But so that was so we went through that period as a family,
Wow.
which was
Wow.
challenging for us, but God brought us through. God really brought us through
That's
that
amazing.
period,
That's amazing.
so to God be the glory.
So even though it is so long ago, my condolences for your experience, and thank God for grace, goodness, and mercy, who because He knows how to help us to pull through. How did your mother? That was your mother's child, or
No,
was it
it was
stepfather's
my
child?
stepfather. It was my
Stepfather's
stepfather's
child.
child.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Sadly, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry to hear. And then when you think it was all over, now when your other brother becomes adult, grown up man, he became murdered. They murdered him only
Yeah.
2 years ago. You said that was too.
Yeah. 2 years ago. It's about 2 years ago he was murdered.
How did you?
He
How
was
did?
murdered.
How?
He was murdered in the COVID, during the COVID period. He was murdered.
Okay.
Uh,
How did you?
no,
How did you deal with the recurrence? Because I know that like bringing back memories, reliving this all over again.
I want to also let you know, Bishop, as we talk tonight, there are certain cycles. And let me put it this way: when my brother died, the first one, then about 80 or so years after my grandfather died, natural death. Then about another 8 or so years after that, my stepfather died. He had cancer and he died.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then uh what was happening now is that we were looking back and say, okay, every 8 or 10 years, somebody is dies in our family. So
Mm-hmm.
when we were there and we were passing that period, my mother was saying, okay, we are good to go. We have
Mm-hmm.
passed that period,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it so
So
happens
she thought the
that
cycle ended.
the cycle has ended. And
Mm-hmm.
then she got the news that my brother was murdered, that he was shot. Now my sister called me. And when my sister said to me, Roderick, the shot, they killed Robert, I was like, okay. I Because to me, I want to see it first. So I got in my vehicle, went and I picked her up, and we went to the Spanish Town Hospital because to me, he wasn't dead. That
Mm-hmm.
is, I'm going to be totally honest. He wasn't dead, and we went to the Spanish Town Hospital. We No, no, I am not related to Clifford Senior. I saw your wife ask it. Not related to Clifford. Uh, we went to the Spanish Town Hospital, and they say he's not here. He's at the morgue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him, so I don't start no crying because I have to see. Because
No,
it's as if you're in you. They talk
it,
about the
it,
stages of grief, so you're
yeah,
in this.
in denial.
You have to see it first,
Yeah,
and then
denial.
I went to we went to the morgue, and then we went to the morgue. We talked to the undertaker, and he said yes, uh, this person come in, but him can't pull the bag because it's the police. Them It's a police matter, so he
Mm-hmm.
can't.
Mm-hmm.
Still wasn't crying. And then we were driving on Young Street, I remember, and a friend called and said to my, do I get emotional? Forgive me, and said to my sister,
That's all right. We're human.
Robert is dead. It's true, he's dead. And then the tears just start running down. It start really running down. And then
Wow.
what happened is that we had to even identify him, but it wasn't where we look at the body.
Mm-hmm.
It was where we go to the police station and they show us on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw him, my sister identified, because it was challenging for me, so we looked at him and so we said, okay, it is him. But uh, even though, I'm totally honest with you, even though, Bishop, I walk on the street, and if I see somebody resemble him, I'm like, this could be my brother. Wonder if he's not dead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I go to my mother's house. That was initially when he just died, and saying, I'm going to come here one day and sit with my mother, and I'm going to see my brother
Mm-hmm.
come to the gate and come in.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
he's dead. But then sometimes, you don't accept a loss.
Right, right. You don't get to
Yeah,
the acceptance part of it, and that maybe that's
yes,
the last part
yes,
of grief is the
yeah,
acceptance.
yeah.
And
So
I'm
that
thinking
was
that
difficult.
because of the continuation of the tragedies, it's hard to get to the acceptance, especially now that is your second brother.
Yes,
It's hard now to say, okay, I lost one long time ago. Now you lose a second one, then there is no more.
yeah, no
So
more.
so it's hard to let go of that no more psychological, mental denial, feeling that yeah, this. And I'm thinking that if you accept it, then you say it's over. But not to accept it is to keep hope alive,
Keep, yes, you keep in hope alive, even though you
even
close.
though it's a wishful
Yes,
thinking.
yes, yes.
Wow.
Even past the denial stage, as Sister Beckford is saying. But then my mother, my mother, it was challenging for her because they were very close. It was
Hmm.
really very close. And my brother had been through a lot, really been through a lot,
Wow.
and a lot has happened in his life. And he's the only one. I said I have a sister and my
Hmm.
brother. He's the he's the only one biological who
Hmm.
never got saved. He's the
Wow.
only one. All right.
Wow.
So it was hard for my mother. It was really hard for her. I don't even know she has she has come to accept, yes, but then uh she would say to us, my friend is dead, my friend is dead,
Wow.
because he would have called her and said, how you doing, how is life, and she would
Hmm.
say, my friend is dead. So that call stop,
Hmm.
that call
Hmm.
stop. So those were some of the stuff we went through, during the course of my brother's death,
Wow.
and as a family, it was hard for us. But I also believe that that cycle can be broken,
Hmm.
you know, and we continue to fast and pray for the breaking of that cycle in our
Wow.
lives. All right.
How is your
So
sister? How is your sister doing?
my
How's she
sister,
healing?
my sister she's doing well. My sister is doing well. Uh, it's we have reached a stage where we have coped with the loss. Uh, I guess every now and then there's reflection,
Hmm.
because every now and then I say, "You really make them kill you, Robert. You really make them kill you." You, you know, every now and then, you
Hmm.
pass where you used to live, and you say, "You really make them kill you. You really make the man them kill you." You, so
Hmm.
that is, the anger comes up. The anger comes up, not the anger for revenge per se,
Right.
but that anger is that you really let them kill you. you,
Yeah.
you know, and he was he was no my brother was no saint. He
Hmm.
basically was no saint. Uh, he got baptized. He got at what point? I should have at one point he got baptized at a particular church, but he never stayed long. He
Hmm.
never stayed long in that church. All right, and he
Oof.
got involved. He got involved also in the wrong company. Okay, and that's the best I would say there. He got involved. That's
Yeah.
the most I'd say there, in the wrong
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
But
It happens. It happens.
yes, so Bishop, in 1984, back to when I came into the church, my mother on the search. All right, and so we went to 41 Ulaba Road. At the time, the pastor was Pastor Roy Johnson.
Hmm.
He was pastor, and
Hmm.
we went there, and this was it for us. This was it for us, Bishop. We went there,
Hmm.
and my mother said, "Yes, this is an organization. It's not just run by one man. It is an organization that has a body, several
Hmm.
churches,
Hmm.
and there's an
Hmm.
headquarters. So persons can do what they want to do, or so on." So now I was now a member of the church at 41. Just to let you also know that we got we got the right baptism at 41. I want to put it that way, Bishop. Uh, I got baptized. My mother got baptized. My sister got baptized. We got
Wow.
baptized at 41 Old Harbor Road Church, and we all received the baptism in the Holy Ghost, and that was 1984 that this
Mm-hmm.
happened. 1984. So we became a member of the prophecy, and we have been a member of the prophecy since. You asked me earlier about when you recognize the whole matter of the the breaking of the curse. It never happened immediately. It was in the 90s. I remember the church I was preaching. It was Gregory Park, Church of God of Prophecy,
Mm-hmm.
uh, pastored by Bishop, my good friend Bishop Squire. And I remember I was there ministering in the 90s, and I began to speak about curses, right, in the church. And the Lord just have me, Bishop, to talk about where I'm coming from. Just like I'm sharing the story with you
Mm-hmm.
tonight, the
Mm-hmm.
Lord have me to share the story of my birth, near death, demonic interference, being sold out to the devil. Uh, they were going to a revivalist church, and being a part, coming to the Church of God of Prophecy, share my story. And when I was sharing my story, Bishop, may I cry. I want to use the word
Mm-hmm.
bawl, but I was crying, Bishop. I was crying. I could not share the story and not cry. I was crying
Wow.
because I was saying to myself, the curse has to end now. This
Mm-hmm.
generational curse, what
Mm-hmm.
my grandfather did, what my
Mm-hmm.
grandfather did, living with him, coming under that witchcraft curse, it has to be broken now. And I took a stand in the church at Gregory Park. And I remember preaching that message again at 41 Old Harbor Road Church about curses. And then the tears were flowing again, was just flowing again. Um, I talk about it now and I don't cry. I talk
Mm-hmm.
about it freely now. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
then what happened then is that when you come to the realization and you're talking about something for the very first time that would hold you in captivity and in bondage, and you talk about it for the first time, then you are seeing your deliverance. You are seeing the
Mm-hmm.
goodness of God.
Mm-hmm.
You are seeing how God deliver you, from this witchcraft curse. You are seeing how God uh, just drop the charges and just break the chains and the fetters and just set you free. And it is a time of thanksgiving, a time of worship, and a time of tears. And as you talk, the deliverance come. As you
Mm-hmm.
talk, the breakthrough come, because here you are standing in front of, maybe you had over 100 persons in church at the Gregory Park Church, and you're sharing your story with them, and they're looking at you, some in
Mm-hmm.
awe, some shock, and they're
Mm-hmm.
looking at you, and some saying to you, "You're brave. How you go up there and talk them all of those things?" But they don't
Yeah.
understand. Even on this platform tonight, sir, and coming and even sharing this story, there are persons who would look on and say, "You're brave. How you come and you talk these things?" But persons must understand the deliverance process.
Yeah.
Is that
Exactly.
when you share your story and you tell others
Mm-hmm.
where you have been, you will find out that they too, you're speaking into the life of an
Yep.
individual.
Yep.
And they
Yep.
are saying, I have shared this story so many times. There are persons who use it against me. I have no problem with that. All right.
Right. Right.
And, and,
Yeah.
and there are persons who will say to me, Bishop, I thank you for sharing your story, because your story has helped me to gain victory in my life
Amen.
and in my
Amen.
own walk with God.
Amen.
So that
Amen.
was the total breakthrough that happened in the 90s. Now, as I said, I share it, I talk about it with no tears, because I am delivered. I say to person, if you want to hold it against me, that is your business. But I am delivered. I know I am delivered. I know whatever happened, I am delivered. And I share this with you, Bishop. I guess you have some more questions. I share this with
I,
you.
well, this is your story, and we are listening. We are listening to your
Yeah,
story.
in,
We're listening to
in
your story, and
1980.
I see our Valentine Rodney coming on tonight. Well, you're drawing some people in here
Okay,
tonight, so that's good. Shout
okay.
out to Valentine.
Bless you, bless you, bless you, sir. Bless you. And as
Okay,
Minister Rodney comes on, I need to also share a story about him too. All right, I guess he's going to wonder what Bishop is going to say. But this is my encounter, Bishop. In 1984, this when I'm preaching my story, I said to persons, according to Roderick Senior, God said to the devil, I have given you enough time. You put a witchcraft curse on him. You are sold out to the
wow,
devil. It is my
wow.
time to use him now. It is my time to use him now. So you have no
Amen.
more. You have no
Amen.
more. You have no more hands on him. God
Things have turned.
turn. Yes. So
Things
so
have
so the
turned.
devil. This is my time. There are. I think there are times when there are certain conversation, just like a Job, that God have with the devil. That is my conviction. Have with the devil, because God had a conversation with the devil, with Satan. You consider my
Yes,
servant Job,
sure.
and
Yeah, there's no like
conversation.
him, right? Yeah, yeah.
Look here, it's my time to use. So in 1984, I came out of the church, came out of the revivalist church, and came into the Church of God of Prophecy. Just to remember, before I forget about Minister Rodney, I want to put this in, Bishop. I want to put this in. God put some people in your life. And I
Hmm.
remember I was at a convention. It's either a parish or a national convention. And I remember after finish ministering, I don't know if I had ministered, but I remember he met me in the yard at 41, and he shake my hand and said, Senior, God have a calling on your life, I need to talk to you. And he the convention finished the Sunday, and the Monday he made the effort, and he met me at 41, and he spoke to me. And he spoke to me about the call of God on my life. He spoke to me about what kind of Bible I have, and my library and the works. I was nowhere, Bish. I was nowhere when it comes to a library, a Bible. I
I
just
know,
have
right?
the normal Bible, and
The little
he
66
spoke.
book, right?
Yes, and he spoke to me, and he said to me, "You need to have a Greek and a Hebrew study Bible." I remember
Study
that,
Bible,
a Greek
right?
and a
Right.
Hebrew study Bible, and that was in the 90s. And I remember when he said that, I went out and I purchased. I have the Bible up to now. The cover went bad, and I carried for them to put a nice cover on it again.
Okay, all right, all right.
Yes, so I have that Bible for over some 20 odd years. And that was the input, because there are times persons will pull you and will speak into your life. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a significant turn for me when he mentioned that. And then I started to buy books. And if you remember, he used to drive the ministry green van, that pickup van. You remember, Minister Rod, you remember that van,
Yes, yes,
and so on,
yes.
and so on. So he was very instrumental in sowing in my life, taking me then and said, the call of God is on your life. What you doing? What you doing? And he spoke with me, and he made the effort. And I can't call him a father because he's going to laugh.
Yeah, right.
He said, Bishop, don't call me no father. Yes,
Call him father figure.
a father. Because we need those persons who can. And it was
Yes.
one encounter. It was one, and we're friends now. We're good friends now. It was one encounter, but that one encounter did a whole lot.
And
It did a
sometimes
whole lot.
sometimes it doesn't need more than that, because, and the reason why sometimes it doesn't need more than that is because God purposed it
Yes.
for a moment. And it is not just a flyby passing by. And maybe if you ask Minister Rodney, uh, you can't even remember or figure out what was the driving force behind that, because it was something that God designed to happen. And that's all you need is for him to deposit that little bit into you, to
Yes.
springboard you into something else, to change your your mentality, and to make you know, oh, there's more to this than just having your 66 books. There's a
Yes.
lot, and that has developed over all these years. But as I said when I started, you can't get to the roof of the building without you laying the foundation. So that's he helped to establish that foundation and give you what to build on.
Yes, definitely.
But
Definitely.
but this is a fascinating story, my friend. I had no clue what I was going to hear from Bishop Roderick Sr. I had no clue. So, hey, you need to just hit your share button, tell your friends about it. I am talking to Bishop uh, Dr. Roderick George Sr., parish overseer of West St.
St.
Catherine
Catherine
West.
Way.
St.
Yes.
Catherine West, and boy, he has a journey. We haven't even touched into any of the fundamentals of the development, but we got into the core, what would I say, struggles. Um, how would I describe that? The journey, the spiritual journey, the ups and downs, the downfall, the emotional roller coaster part of his life. We haven't even touched into his personal development yet. So, my friends, good time to hit your share button because this is a story that you need to hear. Bishop, I talked about I have a little ebook that I talk about don't judge me by my scars or hold me hostage to my past. And because you never know how I get my scars,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And just to share that moment from the beginning of your birth and the tender age of your mom, and what her experience was, and what you experienced in that moment. eh, Tell somebody you just don't know what a person's story is. Don't judge them by their scars or hold them hostage to their past, because you talk about when you share your story, some people use it to judge you. So some people are still trying to hold you hostage to your past because they can't get beyond that. But it is amazing how God, how and here is, and I think it's a good time for me to tell you this, because I have been sharing this for the past maybe 8 months now. Every now and then it pops into my spirit based on people's story, to say to them, one of these days, God will show you the mystery of your history. One of these days, He'll show you the mystery of your history, because while you're journeying, you can't really understand. But when you get a chance to look back and see how the pieces fall in place, just like you're with a reference now to Reverend Radney, who took that moment and deposited something into your life, and you had no clue where it was going, but now you can look back and say, look what the Lord did with that little thing. One of these days, God will unveil to us the mystery of our history, and He will show us why our journey was what it was. And as complicated as yours have been, and all of those experiences with the demonic forces and the chanting and all of that, there is a reason God allowed you to go through that, because He wants you to hold it as a testimony, as an experience that you can share that to help somebody who will find themselves in the same position.
Yeah. Because what I say to persons is that God has delivered me, and there is no one, don't care how deep you are, God will deliver you. Don't care how messed up you are. So, so,
Mhm.
so when I share my story, it's saying to persons across, it's that say, listen here, God is a deliverer. The enemy had a stronghold on me,
Wow.
wanted to destroy me, but God delivers me. And whatever demons were assigned to police me and to carry out that curse, God destroy and break and totally delivered me. Totally delivered me. So I say to the
Amen.
person, I am delivered. I am delivered.
Hmm.
So I say,
Hmm.
if you want, as I said earlier, if you want to have me up, that's your
Hmm.
that's your thing. If you want, but I am here to say to somebody, because sometimes we preachers we preach, And we do, sometimes we paint a picture as if we're good. We're born with
Yeah.
a gold spoon in our mouth. But when they hear your story, where you are from, they're a
Yeah.
person who sit up and look at you. Now, I want to also share with you, Bishop, uh, my first brother who was murdered uh, over some 30 odd years ago. I want to share that with you. Um, I went to a district. There was a district I went to. This gentleman, he was in his 70s and he was beheaded.
Mm. Wow.
Okay, he was beheaded. Now, they had a community meeting there and they invite all the community to come together. Now, there was revenge in the air, revenge in the air. I went to that meeting, and when I went to the meeting to talk to them, I mean, all the community members were there, the family members were there, and they were, if we find this person, this is what we're going to do to them. And when I began to relate my story about my brother, everybody get quiet. Everybody get kept quiet because
Mm.
now they are seeing somebody who have been through a similar position
Mm.
as they went through. And whatever they were contemplating on doing, after I finished talking to them and praying for them, that went. Within
Wow.
within the week, the person who did the killing, the police, the police captured him
Hmm.
within the week. Uh,
Wow.
so your testimony, yours to sometimes you go through certain ordeals in your life to
Yeah.
share. And I say to persons, don't be afraid to share. Don't be afraid to tell others where you're coming from and what God has done for you because you have your testimony to share with the world. You have it to share with the world. And so, Bishop, because uh, my journey, sir, from from a child coming up, what I just relate. So you will find when I minister, I will talk about spiritual warfare.
Hmm.
So you will find most of my preaching and teaching in us in the whole matter of spiritual warfare. And uh, it persons get turned off a bit because they say I am the demon preacher. Of course, they give me all sorts of names and so on. You understand? But then you go through certain periods in your and God would allow you to go through this period in your life because the Lord had the last laugh and say, I'm going to deliver you, Roderick. But you're going through this period so you can share with the world and tell them about spiritual warfare to let the world know that whatever battles they are in, I can deliver them and I can set them free. Whatever the battle
Wow.
is, I am God. I can deliver them. So when I come, I speak about spiritual warfare. I speak about the whole matter of it's not that we're bigging up Satan, bigging up the demons. At the end, I remember one person saying to me, Bishop, you talk about spiritual warfare, but in the end, I love how you finish. You never give credit to the devil. You always end with the note that Jesus is the winner, man. Jesus is the one who gives the victory. And all principalities and powers is subjected to the higher power. So my testimony is here to help others. I'm here
Wow.
tonight and I'm sharing with the world tonight my testimony to say,
Wow.
listen here, God is a deliverer, whatever
Wow.
your situation is, don't care how much you are wrapped up, tied up, don't care how much the enemy is attacking you, God is a deliverer and he will deliver you. You can't be that messed up where God cannot
Mm.
deliver you. You can't be
Amen.
that messed up where God cannot bring you through and take you through that period and deliver you completely and totally. So we share our testimony to the world. So Bishop, if you would, I said to you when we were talking, if somebody had told me 30 years ago we would be here together talking out and then really that's not gonna happen.
I
That gonna,
know, right?
but here we are today
Oh my
sharing
goodness. Oh
with
my
the world
goodness.
and person
Oh my
watching
goodness.
and to say, uh, don't let the enemy. keep you down and tell you can't. Curses, don't curses, spells, X, broken. We remember when Philip went to Samaria, and I don't want to sound like I'm preaching now, Bishop. When Philip went to Samaria under the anointing of the Holy Ghost, and Simon's shop was totally closed down,
Mm-hmm.
totally closed down. You know, and Philip started a revival in Samaria. Revival broke out in Samaria. Now, it means we have the authority, we have the power. And my journey continues. It continues, Bishop, because I am not satisfied with where I am. I am not satisfied with what I see in church. Still a whole lot more to talk about, you know.
Listen. This is only part one because look like we're gonna have a whole heap more time to talk because you have a lot to talk about and we have a lot to hear and we want it. We want to hear it. So this is. I'm gonna conclude that this is part one.
Okay.
So we're just breaking the ice. We're just breaking the ice. So let's continue the conversation. I'm talking to Bishop Roderick Senior, and his story is incredible. Just his experiences in life as a young man from the very conception, from his mother conceived him and to his birth and the journey of his family and his Christian experience and revivalism and all of that. Oh my God, this is an amazing story. But God allows you to have these stories that you can share it because and you know what? God God knows the time and the season when it becomes necessary. Because as you said, who would have thought that somewhere down the road you would have run into me? You would have run into me after 30 something years. You would have run into me somewhere, and I would have get to know you because I didn't even know you because when you came to the Church of God Prophecy in '84, I was not in the Church of God of Prophecy. Then I left the Church of God of Prophecy in '78, came back '87. So I came back a few years after you came in,
Okay.
and so here I am now. So who would have thought that somewhere down the road, God allow your story to unfold, that now we can be recording it here now, that it will be available for others for the rest of their lives, that they can have access to it and hear something that the Lord has deposited in you and call you to experience and to bring it now as a testimony to help somebody who might find themselves in some of the same situation.
Okay. So the story. I don't know what time your program finish. Or there's another.
We have time. We have time. We keep, if it's good, we keep it going. If it's good, so and this is more than good. So we haven't anything burning that you want to say before I even try to track back your journey and some of these these uh, academical achievement and spiritual development. We have another almost another hour that we can go and
Oh,
talk about
okay.
a good story
All right.
if you can handle it.
All right. Yes, yes. I can. I'll try my best.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so the whole matter of uh, let me go back to '84. So here am I now in the Church of God of Prophecy. All right, and at 41 Old Harbor Road Church, and we was involved was much involved in church. You know, in church, I serve as in the local church as the youth life team director. I was
Youth
assistant
Life Team. You know how far
youth
we
life
go back
team.
to
Remember
Youth
youth
Life
life team?
Team?
That's far. That is far,
You
Bishop.
know how far that go back to Youth Life Team? Oh my
That
goodness.
is far. And we used to, in those days as young people. We remember the building that was at 41, that front building. We
Right,
used to
right,
meet there
right.
on a Sunday evening as young people and pray. Okay, and pray, really seek God. We would pray, we ball on the place and pray. And I remember with the youth life team, what we used to do whenever we were having crusades, we used to have one group that stays at the altar, one group that's walk in the congregation, because
Hmm.
you know there are some unsaved who sit down and don't
Right,
want to come.
right,
And there
right,
was
right.
another group who went outside. So that's how we did it as young people. So
Young
I
people
was
on fire, man,
on
zealous
fire,
and on fire.
young people on fire, you know, and we used to walk the street, canvass the street, and journey, and then and so on. So I got involved, and then uh, from there also got involved in the parish too. Okay, I was very close to the late Bishop Nathan Taylor. We're very close to him.
I was a man
Yes,
on the east.
yes, yes, yes. He was in St. Thomas, and then he came back to St. Catherine East, all right, and so on. So I was very close to him, and we I serve in the parish in various as treasurer. I serve also as on the evangelism team. I want to share also this journey with you. This is every time I remember this, I can't forget. I remember going on a mission, Bishop. When I went on this mission, the person who I hope they are not watching. When we went on the mission, Bishop, we decided to we went to Riversdale, a place named Crawl. So on our
Mm-hmm.
way back, the person who was driving said, I know a shortcut. And Bishop, the person came off the main road, and all we were seeing is darkness. To the left, to the right was total pastors like Cowpen and so on. And
Mm-hmm.
then we
Mm-hmm.
drove to a riverbed, but luckily there was no water there. Then when we crossed the riverbed, we came into a cane piece,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, they were making noise. To me, it was fun because all I was doing was just laughing and having a good time. But we never got lost. We ended up on the main road and came back to Spanish Town. So we were involved, evangelism and so on. All right. I was ordained a minister in the church in 1994. That was when I was ordained. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So with my ordination, as I said, I worked in the parish. Worked in the parish. I work with several pastors under several pastors, persons who would be like I said, Pastor Roy Johnson, Sylvester Lindo, Winston
Mm-hmm.
Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Winston Graham. I work with uh I hope Junior Headlam. If I forget
All
Junior,
right.
you would
All
have my
right.
neck tonight. Junior Headlam. And so on. We work with these ministers and so on, and they help my own personal growth in the ministry per se, in growing up. And I also want to salute Derek Cornwell because he was instrumental in my also growth because I serve under him, and he was,
Wow.
I mean, that time young people were on fire under the leadership ministry of Derek Cornwell. Really,
Wow.
he led the
Yeah,
young.
Derek Campbell, we grew up together too. I got a little bit on him, but boy, he was, we grew up together,
Yes,
and when he used to sing and all of that stuff in the early
yes,
days, from Maxine Avenue days. You maybe you don't know Maxine Avenue days because you came in at Old Harbor Road maybe. So
yeah, yes, Old
uh,
Arbor Road.
in the 70s, we were to have convention at Maxine Avenue. So that's way back.
Okay, so we were a part. We grew up under these leadership. I grew up under these leadership, and so on. I might cut out a few of the stories as they come because in 2002, under the leadership of Bishop Edlam, I was then sent forth to pastor a church, the Top Mountain Church of God of Prophecy. Now that's interesting in me going there to pastor because I think I going there was musically different from how they selected pastors. I remember Bishop Martin called me and he was the overseer then, and he said to me,
Mhm.
they are looking for a pastor, like their pastor. And the pastor who had migrated to England was Pastor Clive Brown. He's
Oh,
now a
Clive
bishop in
Brown.
England. So,
I know Clive
yeah,
Brown used to be in the
yes,
DTI. Yeah.
yes. So they were now looking for a pastor like Pastor Clive Brown. So they sent me up there. So Bishop said, you'll go up there and they will decide whether or not they want you. No, I went up there. You understand?
So
So
you can put him for a test run.
it was a test run. It was a test run, Bishop. It was a test run. So no, Bishop. I am no, I am going there. Pastor Clive is a teacher of the
Oh
word.
yeah, he was a class teacher for sure.
Yeah,
He was
he
a class
was.
teacher.
Yes, I'm yet to see somebody who can open the word. He can take one word and preach from it.
He was
And
a
now he
class teacher.
opens it. It's like, wow, wow, I never see all of this. You understand? So when I went there, I'm a preacher. Me run around the place.
Hmm.
I might even jump up on a on a bench. You know, I'm that preacher who make noise.
Okay,
You
all
know,
right, all
so
right.
so I am going there now, and I am preaching. I preached the morning, and then they came back to me and said, uh, "You need to come back the night." But I
Hmm.
also need to let you know, Bishop, when I went there, and I remember driving, uh, the car I have was a Sprinter. Then it was a Corolla Sprinter. It wasn't like a new model Sprinter. It's one of them Sprinter. The dashboard bursting up and so on. And I'm a young person coming up, and this is one of them tough old Sprinter. And I go up there, and with my family, my wife, my son went up there, and somebody met me. Somebody met me, remember? And I love to read people expression. And when they met
Hmm.
me, I looked in their face, and it was like, "It's you." They didn't say it in so much words, because you're talking about I am now in my 30s, young man. You
Hmm.
understand? So I'm now going there to pastor a church. Okay, well, for them to decide whether or not they want me.
Right,
All right.
right.
So I went there. I was me. Okay, I was me. All right.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I love that experience. That you go for a test run, let them decide. You come up with my wings broken.
Yeah, so I went there and I preached the morning. They say want me back the night. I came back there the night and I preached the night. And then I'm a bishop saying to me, he does not hear anything from them. No, Bishop Brown, the late Bishop Brown, he was the one now who had to go up to the church, and he met with these three leaders. These
So that
three
Bishop
leaders.
Brown was in Old Harbor, in the Old Harbor here,
Alexander
right?
Brown. Yeah, he was the parish
Alexander
overseer
Brown,
of
right?
the
Yeah.
Country West. Yes. So he
Yep.
went up there now, and I tell you, I don't think this ever happened to any any pastor. They just appoint them. So he went up there and met with these three leaders to ask them, if they wanted me to pastor the church. Okay, I'm not privy to what took place in that meeting. Okay, but coming out of that meeting, it was yes. It was it. So here it is now, 2002. I am now pastoring the Top Mountain Church. I spent 19 years at the Top Mountain Church.
Wow.
Yes, 19 years. And
You're still there, right?
no, I am at
Because
47 Bowers.
I know I saw something with you, and I know I saw Top Mountain some a
Yes,
while ago when you were okay.
yes. I'm now at 47 Bowers Drive. That
Okay.
local church where the late Bishop Alexander Brown used to pastor.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So I am now at, Top Mountain, 19 years there, and it was an experience. It was really an experience. The first time in pastoral and pastor in a church, we had our challenges, we had our good
Hmm.
times,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it was an experience for me, uh, as a young man going into pastoral, pastoring if there's anybody from Top Mountain on, but you consider it a country church. I'm coming from a town church going into a country church to pastor.
Right.
It
Right. Right.
was and it was a closely knit. It was a community church too, a family church,
Hmm.
and so it is that when I went there, it was an experience for me as a young man, with my family. As I said, we had challenges, we had good times. Uh, But what I can recall, Bishop, is the goodness of God. And as I share my story, is seeing the goodness of God. Sometimes we dwell on the negative. I ain't going to dwell on the negative. When I went
Mhm.
there, the building had to be completed. It was about maybe 30 or 40% completed. And I said to the church, within 5 years, we are going to complete this building. We're going to complete this building. And we completed the building within 7 years and had a opening of the building. Uh, I saw persons. I remember a lady called me and said to me, I need your address from overseas. And they sent money for the church.
Mm.
There was a particular job to be done on the church, and the value was $1.5 million. One person said it.
Ooh.
Somebody did that job for less than $500,000, just to speak about the goodness of God, you know. And we have seen significant things happen at the church, the growth, uh, how the church has grown, has developed, and so on, and the completion of the building, you know. So when I leave the top mountain and I went to 47 Bowers Drive, it was more because we're building now at 47. I stood in the church on Sunday, and we don't have any doors, Bishop. We don't. I'm going to send you a picture personal as to the church. We don't have any. The building is up, the roof is up. But I stood in the church on Sunday and I said in my heart, I said, God, I don't want to pastor a church that is open like this. It must be completed.
Mhm.
It's got to be completed. You own the resources. You got to send the resources to complete this tabernacle. And I don't want persons to tell me, let's just do a little half finished things and be satisfied. No. My conviction is that the temple of God must look beautiful. You
Amen.
know, that's my conviction. So we have been through that as a pastor. I have gotten some national appointments to men's ministry director. I'm currently the family and counseling ministry director. Right. So these are some of the things that I am doing. As to the whole matter of the preaching, I need to mention the preaching, Bishop. I need to mention the preaching. I say to persons, you don't have to give me an invitation to preach. That's how much I love preaching. That's
Well,
how,
you know what? I am not surprised. I am not surprised to hear that because I was gonna ask you something about it because almost every turn I turn, I see you preaching.
Bishop, I am not. I love to preach. I really love to preach, and why I love to see transformation and people getting saved. We were at Bendon. I'm talking about the goodness of God. We were at Bendon Sunday night, and we had maybe about 5 to 6 persons to be baptized. And I was sitting there and I was listening to the testimonies. And the Lord said to me, there are 3 areas you need to speak to. You know, we call a eunuch. We say eunuch, but
You know, oh yeah,
that
oh yeah,
eunuch, yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah,
We quote
oh yeah,
unquote, we say the eunuch
oh
God.
yeah, oh
So we finished the regular baptism, church pack and everything, and they were about to pray for the baptizers. And I went up, took the mic, and said, there are 3 calls that I need to do tonight. 3 calls I need to do. I need to do a call for a backslider. That's one. I need to do a call for those who are not sure where they are. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They're not sure where they are. I'm calling you too. And I need to do a call for those who are not saved. Those 3 calls, you need to come. And when we finish, Bishop, we baptized 13 persons on Sunday
wow.
night. 13. There was just this awesome and powerful move of God in the house. So whenever I go out to preach, I'm looking for souls, looking for transformation, and looking to touch lives in a positive way. And something happened at one of our meetings, Bishop, as I talked to you, that at one of our meetings at Stony Hill, we were there, and there was this young miss at the altar, and she was at the altar, and I looked, didn't lay hands on her. anything, Bishop. Didn't lay hands on her, didn't touch her. I just spoke to her. And there was a manifestation. And the youngest, they were casting deal in the whole matter of deliverance and so on. And she looked at me and said, "What me deal? What me deal? What me deal?" That's what she was crying out. What me deal? You
Mm-hmm.
understand? And so they were working with her. And then from that experience, what the Lord has been saying to me, you have the power in your mouth to speak a thing and see it come to pass. And there's one scripture that I hold on to, and that is First Kings chapter 17, I think verse 1. When Elijah showed up to Ahab, he said to Ahab, according to my words, there'll be no
Mm-hmm.
rain. When I read that, I'm like amazed. The man just turned up
Mm-hmm.
and said, according to my words, there's going to be no rain in the land for 3.5 years. So
Three
the
and a
man
half
locked
years,
up
right?
heaven for 3.5 years. The power of the word of a child of God, a Christian, that power of the word, that we have the power in our mouth to speak a word. I don't, I right now, there are two things that I want to be doing at the local church where I'm pastoring. One, I want to do a series of teaching on who is Jesus? Who is Jesus? And the next teaching, who are we? Do we really
Mm-hmm.
know who we are in the kingdom of God? I believe in the supernatural. I believe
Mm-hmm.
in that. I hold firmly to that as a believer. And just to say this, Bishop, uh, when it comes to the whole matter of deliverance, I say to persons, I will preach. I will preach warfare. I will preach deliverance, but I am not the one who's going to go and work because deliverance take hours, and you have to go through teaching for the whole matter of deliverance. And for persons who are watching tonight, I have a problem at times in church or persons do deliverance is that you're about 10 persons around the person saying the same, everybody around the person creating this confusion. And I'm saying that's not deliverance. That is not deliverance. And to somebody who is watching tonight, whenever you are doing deliverance, it is very important that one person lead the deliverance session while pray the other persons pray silently or read the word or go into worship. When you have everybody like the 10 person casting out the demon, that is a whole matter of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so then there must be this order that takes place
That's
in
the
the whole
exact word I was gonna use. That
of
exact
deliverance.
word I was gonna use about
Yes.
order.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so,
because then everybody just get into it emotionally, and then wanna have their peace. And yes, I get you.
Yes. So that's the story continues. The story continues. My educational background, I do have a degree in theology. I have a I have my master's in pastoral counseling and my doctorate in biblical counseling, all Bible based and all have to do with counseling per se. And what happened, Bishop, is that I remember going to a school to do a devotion years ago. Didn't have anything then. And I remember my very good friend, said to me, they had somebody who came there to minister. And she said to me, this person have a whole lot of titles, Bishop, have a whole lot of titles. Roderick, the person called me Roderick, good friends. So when you go and get yours, that when we
Mm-hmm.
interchange, we can put this. I didn't get all of the education for the introduction. I get it because when we go out and persons say, "Who are you?" I need to let them know this is because persons are looking. Can you deliver? Where have you been?
Yep,
What
yep,
has been your educational
yep,
background per se?
yep.
What is your own personal development in the whole
Mm-hmm.
body
Mm-hmm.
of Christ?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because there is so much to God than where we are, and there's so much that God wants to speak into our
Yep.
own lives
I'm with
on
you 100% on that.
daily basis. So we now have to make sure that we do our necessary uplifting. We have to uplift us. And from that, Bishop, I have written a book. I have written a book. Uh, this is a book. It is The Glory of the Latter House, the Ecclesia Rising. That's a
Mhm.
book
All
that
right.
I've written.
All right.
It comes from a conviction that I have that we have not seen all there is to church. So I wrote this book to say, listen here, the church has got to rise. So we look at the glory. It's a very most person who read the book will say to me, Bishop, just when I'm enjoying the book, it finished. It finished. Just I'm enjoying the book, it finished. And that is the problem I have, Bishop. I'm reading the book and I'm enjoying it, and it does finish. I've written this book. I am presently working
So
on
we're
my
going to do part two of the bad.
yes,
Revise
I'm
part
presently
two.
working on a second book. Hope to get it out by the end of this year. I'm working on it, and I'm hoping I have the materials already for the third book that I hope to publish next year per se. So I am working on it. Uh, just maybe two other things, and I'll ask if you have any other questions, Bishop. Uh,
Well. You're just taking me through the profile, so I don't have. I just want to let you talk. But I definitely, definitely get a break in there. Slip something in there.
Yes. So consider the whole matter of Facebook. I'm on Facebook now with with the program Walking in Miracles. It's every morning at 6:30, except for Thursday morning. On a Wednesday night, just tonight, we have Midnight Cry, and that goes for 2 hours. All right. How did this started? Okay, how did this started? It started in the pandemic. It started in the pandemic when we were locked down.
Right.
We did what? 7 nights, midnight cry. 7 straight nights we came together. I came together. I was teaching, I was praying. I went for 7 nights. Persons were home and we did. And then from that 7 nights, person who were part of the midnight cry said to me, Bishop, you maybe can't do it every night, but at least once per week. So we started to do it on a Wednesday night. So every Wednesday night, some Wednesday night we're off based on what we're doing because we might be out preaching. It wouldn't be
Mhm.
wise for me to preach and then come back on the midnight cry. So every Wednesday night at 12 midnight for 2 hours, we are on doing midnight cry, right? And we have an audience sometime of 80, 100, 120. We have gone over 200, okay? And midnight cry has been going on now for over 2 years.
Wow.
April gone is 2 years that we have been doing midnight cry, right? And then in May we started walking in miracles, and that is every morning at 6:30, except for a Thursday morning. And we have been doing that again for over 2 years. We have been doing that. May would be 2 years. But I want to tell you also, Bishop, sir, that we were also doing another program. And on a Sunday, we're doing another program. And that program was Afternoon Manna. Now, church opened up back. The church had opened up. And I was now Sunday morning. This was the program, Bishop. This was the program. Sunday morning at 6:30, I had Walking in Miracles. Then I would go to church at 10. No, church was open. We just had about 10 or so persons because there was restriction, and it was
Right.
about 2 hours. So we finished, sir, at 12. I had to come home for afternoon manna at 1 p.m.
Wow.
And they were wondering, Bishop, I don't understand how you do all that. But whatever you do, you must enjoy what you're doing. If it's a burden, then you're going to have a problem. But it wasn't working. The afternoon manna wasn't working, sir. It wasn't working because it was tiring. Because preaching at church and then coming home after rush, come home for 1 o'clock, and then you're
Mhm.
doing that at 1 o'clock, and like, wow, this is too much. This is too much, and so we basically discontinued that program. All right, so we're doing now these two programs, all right, and we're touching lives significant. I have seen from the programs, I have seen persons who have gotten saved, persons have started their own Facebook program,
Mm.
persons have started their prayer meetings, their Bible studies, persons have gone back to school from the program. So it is touching lives right across, not only in Jamaica, but right across the world. These two programs that we're
What,
doing now.
can you hold
Yes.
one second? My friend, I'm not want to break the bishop. I give him a break and come right back, and then
No,
I'm gonna
no
come right
problem,
back.
sir.
Take a moment, Bishop. We're gonna come right back and continue.
Every Wednesday, 8 p.m., join ORV Ministries on Let's Talk with the Doc, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. There is a story, something to encourage and inspire you. You may even have a life-changing experience. You never know what's next or who will join the conversation. Stay connected. Subscribe to ORV Ministries YouTube channel. Follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The seven churches of Asia Minor, the churches in Revelation. Have you ever wondered how relative they are to the churches today? Get a copy of this book, The Seven Churches of Asia Minor, and it will unveil truth to you. Chances are you'll find your own church related to one of these churches, and you might not like what you see, or maybe you love what you see. But get a copy of this book and begin to discover why Christ sent those 7 letters to 7 churches and addressed them separately based on their character.
Sorry about the break. I was getting some feedback and some sound coming from somewhere. I want to make sure that I fix
Okay,
that.
that's okay, Bishop.
All right.
That's okay. That's
All right. So sorry for the disruption, but pick it up where you were. Sorry about that.
yes. So we do have these programs that we are doing now on Facebook, and with the work to our church. I'm also the parish overseer for St. Catherine West. We have 18 churches, and during the summer, we were extremely busy with doing crusades. And one of the things that happen is the whole coming together of ministries and pastors as we go through the churches doing crusades. We have seen healing, deliverance, salvation. I mean, God just totally does work significantly among his people, in this time of ministry, as God begin to speak into our own lives and touch people in a significant way. Uh, the work is great. The work is great. And sometimes persons don't understand uh, the drive that I have. And I tell persons I'm a preacher. I'm a preacher. Sir, I'm a preacher. I love to preach. I'm a preacher. And so I will come and I will preach. I will preach. I love to preach, you know. And when I preach, I love to see transformation. So I said to God, whenever I preach, I want to see transformation. So when somebody calls me and say to me, you know, when you preach, I got saved. This took place. I am so blessed, you know, to in touching lives in such a significant way. And I want to say to persons tonight that it is time in Jamaica now, Bishop, in Jamaica now, it is rough in Jamaica.
Mhm.
It's really rough in Jamaica when it comes to violence in
Yes.
Jamaica. And you'd have seen the news. I mean,
Yes.
the murder, it is said there's an increase in the murder rate of 2% over last year. And I think we have gone over 1,000 persons murdered in this country. And also, we per 100,000 persons, we rank number one when it comes to murder in the
Wow.
world
The
per
word.
100,000 persons. So it tells you it is very serious what's happening in this nation. Guns are just there. Guns are just there. We- Just there. Guns are just there. I mean, you wake up and there's no mercy. Recently, the one of our politicians was very angry because a homeless man was set on fire.
Um,
And this is the level of evil and wickedness that is now taking place in our nation. And for the church to rise up and to declare, to preach, to teach, right? But also, and this is where persons might give me a little sticking, I think a lot of jealousy and stone throwing is in the body of Christ. And that is why we have not taken our nation. Anytime we come together as a church, as one, we will take our nation for Christ when we come together as one. So this is my journey. This is my journey.
this is a
It's
fascinating journey, and I'm sure we kind of just get synopsis. Just
yes,
get synopsis of what the journey has been, because we haven't even we haven't gone into ministerial experiences. We're just kind of giving an overview
yeah,
of what you have done.
yeah.
But
But I
you're
need to
amazing.
put this in, Bishop. I need to put this in before I am thrown out of my home tonight, sir. I am married, sir.
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
need
I
to
know,
put
I
this
know, I
in.
know. We gotta get in there, because I know the wonderful lady was there, is there behind the scene, and I saw that. I saw that you're married to a beautiful lady. What, 30 years? In addition to love and passion for ministry for the things of God, he has a great love for family. He has been married to one wife. They put that in quotation, for 30 years, the beautiful and powerful woman of God, Mrs. Cheryl Senior. I know, Minister Sister Senior. If he don't recognize that, he would want to come back on the program when it's finished, because he don't have a place to stay tonight. Maybe gonna ask me to come back and get another round two here, because. But God bless you, and God bless you for your 30 years of marriage, and thank you for sharing with me and all that. Anything else that's burning before I ask you a couple of questions?
Okay, I have two sons. Javel, that's my eldest son. He's married, and
Thank
then
you.
my other son is Javon, and
Right, I saw that.
he's going to an high school. Uh, as we share our journey tonight, and so it is in ministry. So much things happen. When my wife was pregnant with our uh, having children has been uh, we encounter some challenges as a family, you
Hmm.
know. And one of our, when my wife was 7 months pregnant with our second child, she lost that second child at
I hope you,
seven
I hope you,
months.
I hope you see that question before you get a child. You gotta say how you met the wife. So my wife was
Oh,
asking,
oh,
please
oh, oh,
Abby,
oh,
tell us how.
no, uh, okay. We both of us went to 41 Road
Okay,
Church.
okay,
Yes, we
okay,
went to
all right.
41 Road Church. And my wife is going to say no such thing, but she couldn't resist. She couldn't resist. She just couldn't resist. I
Maybe
was
if I had her next to you, she would say, Bishop, it's just total opposite. It's total opposite. But we'll take your story.
yes. So we met at, it was at 41. We worked together on the youth life team,
Okay,
and
all
we
right.
worked together in ministry per se. We worked together in ministry. We I share this story is that when I was going to engage my wife, we went to Burger King, Bishop. went to Burger King. That was it. Burger King was just coming. Burger King halfway through, we went.
Okay, Burger King
Yeah.
sandwich. All right, all right,
Yes.
all right,
And I
all right.
pulled out the watch, the gold watch.
All right, all right,
At the
all
time,
right.
no ring, Bishop, no ring, Bishop. So we went to Burger King, and I sat and I popped the question at Burger King, eating a burger and so on. And of course, the answer was yes, and I gave her the watch,
Oh,
and I gave her the watch. No, the young people looking on would laugh and say Burger King, because
Burger King, yeah,
if you're looking at 30 years ago, that
yeah,
was when Burger
exactly.
King was just coming in. So it did a, in Jamaican terms, we say it a pop style.
Pop style, pop style.
Yes, it was one of those, that was there and doing well. And just,
New and exciting. People want to
yes,
test it out. Yeah.
yes. So we went there and so on. We have been together. This year we celebrated 30 years,
God
uh,
bless you.
30 years of our anniversary. We're in our 31st year now, and God has been extremely good to us. When when I go out, it's funny, Bishop. When I go out and they introduce her, they always say Bishop Senior. When they introduce her, they say the beautiful Mrs. Senior. And I'm
Okay, all
always
right.
saying to them, why can't you say I am handsome too? When you introduced me and just saying Bishop Senior, but I still not getting it,
No,
you know. But God
and
has.
don't worry, they're not gonna change it now because you asked.
Okay, so that's where we are. The whole matter of marriage or children, ministry. I was ordained a bishop. I hope I get it right, in 2010 when I became parish overseer. I was ordained
Okay,
uh,
okay,
to the bishopric. All right, and then was the same year I was parish overseer. All right, and of the parish of St. Catherine West.
you know,
Again, let me say, I don't know why my examination is like this, because when to become a parish overseer, I don't know if it happened to any parish overseer. I was taken to a meeting of the pastors, and it was the pastors who were asked, "Who do you want to be your next overseer?" And it was at that meeting that the pastors said Bishop Senior. So it happened when I was pastor, top mountain, that a group decide. Now parish overseer, the pastors decide. I don't know if it happened to anybody like how it
no,
happened to me.
I guess your journey is unique, right? Your journey is unique. Your journey is
Yes,
unique.
it is.
Somebody's
It's
asking to pray
unique.
for the salvation. Somebody's just
Yes.
asking to pray for the salvation of India. We pay attention to that. Uh, Bishop, before I just want to ask you a couple of things.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
know your story is a great one, and I know we're gonna. I'm sure people are asking for us to do part two already, and I'm sure we will do that. But and you cover most of the things that are in here. You cover the journey of the educational background. You're overseeing 18 churches in the parish in the St. Catherine West. Um, before we close out for tonight, I want to ask you, um, if you and you've said so many things, it's almost maybe redundant for me to ask, but I still want to ask it. If you could recall one or two haha moments,
Repeat that.
one or
Repeat
two,
that.
if you could recall one or two haha moments in ministry, you said two high point moments. You said these are two high points in my ministry that I can't forget. Something special happened. What would you say if you can recall one or two would be two one haha moment in ministry?
Okay. Okay. There's so much.
I would
There's so
imagine.
much.
I would
Really,
imagine for sure.
there's a whole lot. If I was supposed to share, it would take some time. But one of what I remembered and uh, was a revival that took place at the 41 Old Harbor Road Church under the leadership of the late Bishop Sylvester Lindo
Hmm.
and Minister Miriam Lindo, and
Hmm.
also under the youth leadership of Derry Cornwall. I remember we were having a crusade, and during the crusade, nothing was happening, Bishop. It was one of those crusades where it was just dry, just dead.
Going for the
And
grind, just going for the
yes,
grind. Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes. And then the Wednesday night, my recollection, the Wednesday night, everything just shifted. And it shifted when we started to testify. And the testimonies were different. It was testimonies of conviction, of
Mm-hmm.
repentance.
Mm.
And when those testimonies started, you could sense a shift in the atmosphere. And I'll speak to the whole matter of revival, the shift in the atmosphere. And then things just start to happen, Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
We went for 1 month. For 1 month, we were in church every night. For
Wow.
1 month, we were in church every night. And I'm like, wow. And then we, one night we had rain, and we thought that church would be empty, rain falling, saying, you're not going to church. When we turned up at church the night, the place was packed.
Wow.
The place was packed.
People
Every
couldn't afford to
uns-
miss it.
yes, couldn't afford to be. Every unsaved in the building was under conviction. Some did not surrender, but if you once you go to an unsaved and you talk to them, they were under conviction.
Mm-hmm.
And as you
Mm-hmm.
know, with conviction, you have a choice. It's either
Yeah.
you surrender or
Let
you
it
flee.
die. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
conviction. So every person was under conviction. We baptized over 30 persons that time, and that was I think it was in the early 90s, either late 80s, early 90s. Okay, it was very big. We baptized over 30 persons. It was so big that it was also published in the White Wing Messenger.
That's cool.
Okay, because this was something unique that was happening, and you didn't hear much about having this meeting. But also, Bishop, during the meeting, you know who also were getting baptized? Christians.
Oh,
We had
that's
maybe
that's
about,
from that's from the testimony and the conviction. The conscience.
yeah,
And the answer to a clear conscience before God, right?
we had almost, and this is separate from the 30 persons who
Right.
got
Right.
baptized. So now we now have church members. More than half of the believers in the
Wow.
church went in the pool. And this was one of those experience that stayed with me. It stayed with me. It stayed with me because of what brought the revival, and that is the repentance.
Mm-hmm.
And persons were genuine, and you felt that it was coming from the heart. And so we want revival. We want a move of the Spirit of God, but then persons are not repenting because there's a cost for revival.
Mm-hmm.
Are we
Mm-hmm.
prepared to pay the cost for revival?
Wow.
Right. So that was one that stood out. That stood out to me. I said there are so much. There's so
That's a
much.
good. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. And so that's the revival. I have seen healing taking place. I have seen persons who were having struggles in having babies, married couple, praying for them, and God opened up the womb. I have seen that happen. I have seen persons who have been sick, oh God, heal them. God just deliver them. But one of the other things that I see happen, and I don't know why the Lord brought this onto me, brought this back, uh, is that I was at this particular church preaching, okay, ministering, and I was preaching. Um, Let me see if I remember. It is the book. Is it Hosea when God told him to marry to the harlot, the
Yep. Yep.
prostitute?
Yep. Go back
Yes,
to his wife, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's
yes,
the
yes.
Hosea. Yeah.
And I remember I was preaching that particular message, bringing them through it, and saying to them. uh, how even the woman that he married to and the children that he got, based on the names of the children, that they were, some of them, she was unfaithful in the marriage, and how he had to put her away and then have to go back for her. And when he went back for her,
Mhm.
he had to back. And then when we finish the message, when the message finished, within the week, somebody called me and said to me that there was a lady in the house who was professed Christianity but had big children, okay, but never gave the children the right name because there was unfaithfulness. After the message, she went to one of a family who the unfaithfulness took place, and she apologized to them.
Mm.
She went there and said, uh, years ago, your husband and I, we had a relationship going on. And some of the children that I gave birth to belongs to him.
Wow.
You know, that is the power of the word, the power of
Wow.
the word that has taken the power of the word. And I can also recall, let me share, I remember, recall in one other incident where there was this lady, I met her, and she got pregnant, gave birth, and she lost the baby. And she she got pregnant a second time, and she lost the baby again.
Oh,
Gave
wow.
birth, lost the baby again. She got
Oh,
pregnant a third time. And I remember she came to church the night. I remember clearly. I'm talking to you now, and I remember we're having crusade, and she came with her tummy pregnant, and the church took a stand, and we said, this time you will bring this child for 9 months, and this child will not die.
mm,
She gave birth to that child, took home the child. The child is going to high school now, and she
thank
has
God.
second child.
Thank
All
God.
right. I remember uh, going to a meeting, and I mean the experience in some I've forgotten, Bishop. But some that comes to mind is that I remember at one particular meeting, I prayed over a bottle of water. The lady bought a big bottle of water, almost like a 5 liter, and she came. We prayed over it, and I went to a meeting to minister, and she was there, and she said, Bishop, I have this testimony to give you. My mother came back from the States, and she was sick. We prayed for her, we fasted, and nothing happened. And yet the bottle of water you prayed over, I took it, I anointed her, and from that day she was completely and totally healed. Totally healed. I met one other young man, and eh, God is so amazing. He's so amazing in working miracles, signs, and wonders. He had gallstone. It was so painful that they had to put him on medication, the amount of
Mhm.
pain that he was feeling, and they gave him a special diet. Now he was conducting a meeting. He was conducting a crusade because he was the evangelist conducting the crusade. And the crusade started the Sunday. The Wednesday, he was to go in the hospital. All right. And when he basically got up, the Wednesday, they called him and said to him, uh, we are going to put you off. We're not we're not going to do the surgery. We're going to put you off until a later date. He said to me, Bishop, I was supposed to go in the hospital. I can't go in. They said that they put it for a further date. And then he said to me, whatever God is doing, I'm going to let him do it. And I remember praying for him. Bishop, I took a bottle of water, and I put some olive oil in it. I told him to drink it. And we lay hands on him and prayed for him. And the Lord said to me, his healing is not complete. It's not complete. We prayed for him a second time,
Hmm.
right? And then the crusade finished. He know they call him. They call him to the. Can you excuse me a minute, Bishop?
Sure,
Can you excuse me? My
sure,
apologies. Excuse me a minute.
sure. Let me get this here until the bishop comes back.
Everybody has a story. And just like you are unique, so is your story unique. Every Wednesday, I talk to somebody else about their story or some issue that is burning that's relevant. Maybe one of these days I could talk to you about your story. Every week, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter about somebody's story on Let's Talk with the Doc. Maybe one of these days I could talk to you or somebody you know who has a unique story that they want to share.
Every Wednesday, 8 p.m., join ORV Ministries on Let's Talk with the Doc, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. There is a story, something to encourage and inspire you. You may even have a life-changing experience. You never know what's next or who will join the conversation. Stay connected. Subscribe to ORV Ministries YouTube channel. Follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Follow me on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, check it out on Twitter, and of course, follow me on TikTok. Let's journey together with a lot for us to talk about.
Yes.
All right,
Sorry.
all right. Yeah,
Sorry
well,
about that.
it happens.
Let
That's
me
okay.
just wrap up this last one, Bishop.
Right.
So, uh, we pray for him a second time. The meeting is now over, and they call him at the hospital to come and do the surgery. No, when they did the first test, they said the gallstone was big. They have
Hmm.
to operate on him. When he went back the second time after the crusade to do the surgery, they did over the test. And they said to him, we don't have to operate on you. All we need to do is to put a tube in and just to suck out the stones.
Oh wow.
That is the miraculous working power of God. God still
That's
works
incredible.
miracles. And as I said, I could go on and tell you about miracles, things that God
Listen, we
has
we
done.
we got
You,
we're gonna come back because you're not going anywhere. I'm not. By God's grace
you're
and
gonna,
help, we're gonna be around. We're gonna be around. So we will definitely have a part two because I wanted to ask you a couple more questions, but I know we just about run up on our two
time.
hours. We run
Wow,
just about up on
2
our
hours.
2 hours. I know it run by so fast, but yes, we're just about running up on the 2 hours. And my God, this has been so fascinating that I still want to talk to you. I still want to ask you a couple more questions, but I don't want to exhaust the time and wear anybody down because you are still around and I am still around by God's grace. If the Lord allows it, we're gonna come back and we're gonna have another conversation because there is so much that you can share with us in terms of ministry experience. My goodness. I have been talking to Reverend Bishop Dr. Roderick George Sr. And boy, his story is a fascinating one. If you're just joining and you missed the beginning of the story, you have to go back and listen, and you can still share with your friends. Still hit your share button and tell somebody about it. See, people are crying out for part two. This is the second time I see you say, "Oh, we got our part two," and I think the bishop is agreeing on that, and I have the and I am open to it that the bishop comes back and we do part two because I want to journey with you a little bit more on your story and your ministry experiences and we're gonna hear more about the Zionist part of this thing and the journey. My good Lord, we, we
Yes.
we have we still have a lot to talk about. We just broke the ice tonight.
Definitely.
I was
I
I
would
Go ahead.
they are basically, well, we won't be able to do it tonight. I want to also deal with the whole matter of revivalism, to talk to person about revivalism. And I also want to talk about the whole matter of deliverance. Person who are in deliverance ministry, how you go about the whole matter of deliverance, to look at those areas, and to say to persons tonight who is watching, look at me, I'm an example. Don't care how messed up you are.
Mhm.
Don't care if you take a bath, if they bath you in mother pan, if they put things in your womb, if they, whatever they have done to you when it comes to witchcraft and opium. I'm an example that, listen here, the blood of Jesus will break every curse. There's no curse that the blood of
Amen.
Jesus will not break.
Amen.
So that
Amen.
is a whole other discussion for another time, because
That is a season. That is a season that we're gonna have to sit down and talk about some of those. And I'm sure that we are fascinating conversation. People would want to join to listen to that. And I can't wait for that to happen. I am gonna have to put back the rest of my question. I wanted to ask you about a low woman, but I know you. I'm gonna leave that for the next time. Um, um, but I'm gonna ask you the last question, and I know we just about exhaust 2 hours. If you were saying something, if you were mentoring somebody who is preparing for ministry, um, in a synopsis, what would you say to somebody? Uh, what pointers would you give somebody who's coming into ministry? What are some of the pointers you would give? For example, the do's and the don'ts. If you can make that
okay, I try to do it in a nutshell,
yeah,
Bishop.
yeah.
Uh, I would say to persons coming into ministry now is that, one, get somebody to pour into you. That's very important. Somebody who is who is a born again believer and who is firm in God, and let them pour into you. That's very important. Somebody who you're accountable to. You got to get somebody and who you can talk to, and they can help you to grow. All right. And with that growth, with somebody you're accountable to, it means then that they're going to pull you up sometimes. Okay. And they're going to help you to grow. So that is one. Two, I say, spend time in the word. Spend some time in the word and
Yeah, lot of
invest.
time.
I'm saying to person, invest. You're going into ministry, you got to invest now. And it means you're going to spend some money. Like a minister Rodney who met me and said, "What kind of Bible you using? Just the 66 books." And he said, "Get a good study Bible, you know, and do some courses to build you up, uplift you, and spend time in the presence of the Lord in prayer and in fasting and in studying the word." And I'll also say to them, make sure that you're sharing your testimony. Make sure you're telling others about Christ. You're living a life that is pleasing to God. And I also, the final thing I would share with persons is that, pull from the strengths of all the pastors who I have served under them. So I say to them, pull from their strengths, pull, and put it in your ministry. And the final thing, this is my own personal, when I went to the Top Mountain Church to pastor, I'm a preacher. I'm a preacher. I preach. But then, conviction, you are now a pastor.
Mhm.
You now got to let your members have to grow. So a friend gave me a laptop, Bishop, and I purchased a projector. One of my church members, she was going overseas on the work program, and I told her to buy me a projector, and I paid her for it monthly, and she gave it to me. So I was now doing PowerPoint presentation.
Mhm.
I was now
Mhm.
teaching. because I know, okay, I got to know I am now pastoring, and I want to tell you, I did so much
I
teaching.
gotta feed the flock.
Yes, you got to feed the flock. I did so much teaching that one sister came to me. I will never forget this. One sister came to me and said, Bishop, we're tired. We're tired of the teaching now, man. We want some preaching now. We want some preaching now. But they don't understand as a pastor. So, and you have to know your calling. What are
Yes,
you called to be
yes.
an evangelist? Are you called to be a pastor? Is a prophetic calling on you? What is your calling? So, based on your calling now, you're going to go around persons with like calling. So, you're learning from them. You're going to
Mhm.
purchase books now that going to help you to flow in your calling. You understand? So now you got to grow, you got to develop, and very important to ministers who are coming in. Do never you reach to say where you think you are more anointed than your pastor.
Mm.
Always remember that you come under the
Amen.
coverage of your pastor. So
Amen.
when you're going out, you tell your pastor. Don't accept an invitation and you don't tell your pastor first. You know, you need his covering because
Mm.
he is your covering. And you will, as long as you're there, respect your pastor, honor your pastor, love your pastor. And that I'll say to persons.
And be blessed by your pastor.
Yes, you know, just very important. Very
Mm.
important. Saul could not kill. David could not kill Saul. He was saying he's the Lord's anointed.
Yeah.
So it's very important
Messed
that
up
that
as it may be, he still is.
yes, still he's your pastor. So you got
Mm.
to respect and honor the man of God. So these are some of the things I would say to persons going into ministry. You know, I know I've said a whole lot, going into ministry, very important, and invest. You got to invest in you. Invest. It's going to take time. Have your library, have your books, find a
It's not
school.
it's not a
Yes,
microwave development. It's not a
ex-
microwave development.
exactly. It takes time.
It's got to marinate over a period of time. So
Yes, yes. And whatever you're doing, love it. Love what you're doing in ministry.
make sure you enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy it. And the final thing I would say to persons too, Bishop, have a little motto, that have a little saying that kind of help you as you go along. So you work with this. You're working with this little saying. This is my little saying that keeps me amidst
Mhm.
everything. This is what is keeping me. So I hold on to this. I say to persons, I walk with a scripture. So whenever anything happens, I say, to me, this is what I always say: Who wins? Who wins? That is me. Who wins? Who wins? You know, and if it look like the devil is going to win, I say, no, no, I'm a Christian. I can't allow the
Yeah.
devil to win.
Can't
Who
win. Can't
wins?
win. Can't win.
So I walk around with these little sayings, that keeps me.
The devil can't win unless I give up and quit.
Exactly. So it's a journey. It's a journey that you're on, and have that passion for what you're doing. Have that passion. You understand? Have that passion and serve under somebody. You got to serve and respect the leadership that you are serving under. Very important that you do that. We do have a generation now, Bishop. I know our time is gone again, Bishop, but sometimes you get so passionate. We do have a generation that has come into our church. Not all persons know that I see that believe that because they may know from Genesis to Revelation,
Mm.
they really feel that they are ahead of the pastor and they are very disrespectful. And I am saying it should never happen. You need to respect your pastor, whoever is leading you. You need to respect that person and let whatever they're doing, let God do it. You stay on your knees and pray. So as a young person in ministry, Grow, 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 but be very accountable. Be very accountable. Let somebody pour into you and help you to develop.
Amen. Amen. Wise words. Wise words for the young men and women who are coming up into ministry, and we do need you to come into ministry, but we need you to come good. You need to come good so you can last long. And all of these encouragements are designed for longevity. Designed for longevity. Come to the process. Get your legs down. When the shout is over, make sure you have legs to stand on. Those are important things to consider as you go to ministry. My friends, I've been talking to Bishop Dr. Roderick George Sr., and this has been a fascinating conversation. And we're just breaking the ice. You hear that he can't finish, right? Because he has so much to say. I'm going to have to invite him back to come back again and part two sometime soon. As soon as we have an opening and he has an availability, we will bring him back. So keep your eyes and your ears open. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, on TikTok. And by the way, I'm also on Twitter, and I am also on TikTok. So if you're youthy and you're ticking, follow me on TikTok. ORB Ministry can be found on all of these platforms. Just search for ORB Ministries, and we can be in ministry from all different angles. Thank you for joining us tonight on this conversation. If you just joining, it is going to be there on Facebook, there on TikTok, and Twitter, there on YouTube for you to relive, watch, and still share with your friends. A lot to learn. And do you think you know Bishop Senior? You see him preaching all of these times. Go back and listen to the beginning of his days, and you'll find out how the Lord brought him up. I will see you next time, and let's talk with that. Until then, my friends, peace be unto you. Bishop, you're going to
Bless you.
stay right there. I'll say goodbye to you after I close down. See you next week, my friends, because you never know what's next or who will join the conversation.
Well, thank you for checking in on ORB Ministries. I trust that you will share with your friends, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, and stay tuned, because you never know what's next or who will join the conversation.